Good morning, Morgan, and good morning to any of Morgan's friends that are joined us for this video. Today, we're going to look at our Python training video 20, and we're going to be dealing with nested list comprehensions. All right. So, what that is when you're like combining more than one list. Okay, so in the first example, we're going to go ahead and take three lists and create something. We could call it a table or a matrix or an array. Think of it like an Excel spreadsheet, okay, where each one of these lists represents a row in the Excel spreadsheet, and the members will be stacked up on top of each other like columns. Okay, so we're going to, in the first example, we're going to create an example of what we're going to call a matrix or a table. In the example 2, we're going to flip all the rows around so that the rows are now the columns and the columns are now the rows. And then in example 3, we're going to introduce a special method or function that you can use to simplify all this. Okay. Now, with that said, we're going to go ahead and go off to the manual, and we're going to go ahead and do some reading. All right? All right. Let's go. All right. Well, here we are in our little manual, or segment of the manual. And let's go ahead and get the reading started, shall we?
Python Training Video 20. 5.1.4 Nested List Comprehensions. The initial expression in a list comprehension can be any arbitrary expression, including another list comprehension. Consider the following example of a 3x4 matrix implemented as a list of 3 lists of length 4.
All right. Okay. And so here's the little code, this little sample code that we've recreated in the example code. Example program, I should say. Let us continue.
The following list comprehension will transpose rows and columns.
Okay, this is, I didn't bother including this because it's just Oh, actually, I did. Never mind. It's early. Let's continue. Forget everything I said.
As we saw in the previous section, the nested list comp is evaluated in the context of the for that follows it, so this example is equivalent to transposed e.
All right, so now we're flipping the rows and the columns. All right. Let's go over here. Now we're going to see a simpler way of doing that posing.
In the real world, you should prefer built-in functions to complex flow statements. The zip function would do a great job for this use case.
Okay, so using functions or methods or whatever in a real world situation is great. It makes things understandable, keeps the code compact. However, you need to understand how all of this works. You need to understand what this zip function is doing, because all this zip function is doing this. You just can't see it. Okay, and because we're introducing a new function to you, these functions can be very complex. This is a very complex function. Okay, I could create 2 or 3 videos just on this function. So all we're going to do is we're going to look at the summary, okay, and then you're going to stick that in the back of your mind, and then you're going to save it there for when you have to learn a little bit more about the zip function, okay? But let's go ahead and finish our reading, then we'll get back to the code. We'll run the code, we'll look at the output, and then that'll be it. All right? All right.
Python zip function is defined as zip *iterables. The function takes in iterables as arguments and returns an iterator. This iterator generates a series of tuples containing elements from each iterable. Zip can accept any type of iterable, such as files, lists, tuples, dictionaries, sets, and so on.
All right.
On.
All right. Apparently, iterable is something that they made up that's only for Python. Anyway, let's head on over to the code and run our code. All right. Okay. So we ran our code. All right. And I made a mistake here. I should have had actually, this is how we created, isn't it? All right, so here in the example 1, we create our nested list, the matrix. All righty, then in example 2, we run this code. We run the little nested list through this bit, and we transpose it. That's the output we get. All right, you see how all those numbers change, move around? Then in the final example 3, we use the zip method or function. Those two words are interchangeable. I swear to God, I can't figure out what the difference is between those two. Okay. But here we go. Here's a little explanation that we just read in the text. And bada boom, bada bing, sure enough, you run it through this little bit of code, and this little bit of code does exactly the same as this code. All right. Okay, so that's it for today's lesson. So why don't you go out and get into some sun and do something fun? All right. And I'll see you in the next video, sweetheart. Okay, bye.